The food labels lie harder than Pfizer at a press conference. Your all-natural snack is not all-natural. I don't know why they get away with it. What we're really dealing with isn't nutrition. It's a profit-driven deception disguised as a well-being, as a life change, as a lifestyle choice. Like KFC could literally mean 10,000 chickens, one on top of the other, in a barn without ever seeing the sun, or with ever being outside in the fresh air. And we wonder why we're sick. That's why superbugs are rising. Hey guys, good to be with you again. I love it every time I hit record on the camera. It is April the 30th, 2025. It is one day until May. Please slow down. I'm not getting any younger. Today, I'm going to hit something that might seem cliche these days. It may seem like, oh, here we go again. We're tired of hearing it. But my God, it needs to be said. And of all people to do it, it's somebody who is guilty of exactly what I'm going to bitch at everybody about, which is food and diets in this country. It's disturbing. I started thinking about it recently with the new administration and Robert Kennedy Jr. and all of the things he's trying to do. And until somebody kind of puts it in your face, you roll with it. You live, you go to the grocery store, and you move on. You go to restaurants, and without questioning anything, you eat. And every once in a while, that's okay. Everything in moderation is what most people say. But when it stacks up over years, that's the reason that our country is looked down at when it comes to health and food. It's just a fact. So I'm titling this show, Processed, Poisoned, and Proud as Hell. Welcome to the American Diet. It seems to apply. You think you're eating healthy when you see things like low fat, zero sugar, all natural. That's what the label says. That's what they're advertising. I'm guilty of it. I drink Coke Zeros and all that no sugar stuff. I know there's aspartame in it. I know that there are other things in it, but that doesn't matter because I'm staying away from the sugar, which is, we all know is bad. But here's the truth. The food labels lie harder than Pfizer at a press conference. Your all-natural snack is not all-natural. I don't know why they get away with it. The FDA has not labeled natural to mean anything. So somebody puts it on there, it sounds great. Oh, this is all natural. Meanwhile, it's probably not making you very healthy. Zero sugar, like I said, it's basically a chemical cocktail that sounds like it belongs in a hazmat suit rather than in your body. Today we're going to rip that label off and let's show you what you're actually ingesting to a point. I know that hearing everybody just get on you and give you a hard time about this kind of thing is annoying. But I'm going to look at it in a lighthearted way. And if I can start acknowledging this and just become aware or more aware, anybody can. I mean, we all want to look better. I have about 10 pounds I'd like to lose. It's difficult when you get to be middle-aged and time is of the essence. But things like this can help. And I now that I have children, I want to live. I want to live a while. I'm not ready to go yet. So I started thinking about it and I just thought it'd be good to talk about. So let's talk. Here we go. Like I said, we all know that the United States is how we're viewed when it comes to being obese. And again, I'm guilty of all of it. I don't mind. I love going out to eat dinner. I love pizza. I love Chipotle, even especially breakfasts from fast food restaurants. Give me an egg sausage McMuffin with egg, and I'm a happy man. But that's not good. That was fine when I was 19 and I was exercising and I was in better shape. But now, it's tough. And what happens is I go, well, I'll just get it one day and then I'll get it again months down the road. And then a couple of days later, you're like, okay, one more time. And that's the same with anything that becomes a little bit addictive. 40.3% of Americans are obese. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that a little over 41% of those are women and only 39 are men. I have something that was a little bit surprising and I'm going to latch on anything I can for my boys. So my target is your fridge, your pantry, the restaurants you frequent, and your smug little health food aisle when you think you're doing good for yourself when you're not. What we're really dealing with isn't nutrition. It's a profit-driven deception disguised as a well-being, as a life change, as a lifestyle choice. A lot of these bad diets will do that. Keto and Atkins were very similar. You've got the carnivore diet, you've got the Mediterranean diet, all of these quite possibly just luring you in for whatever reason. In reality, it's probably more of a picking and choosing and not eating as much processed food, which is what we'll get to. So the labels are misleading. Let's start where it all begins, the grocery store. I walk by all the time and, again, you look at the labels. A lot of times you're going fast, you're going down the aisles, and you just kind of see something and go, oh, that's great. If you're gluten-free, gluten-free, perfect. When in reality, it's not always 100% what it says it is. My wife's big into the gluten-free thing. I used to give her a hard time about it. She truly 100% believes it makes her feel better. And sometimes it'll say gluten-free and it's really not. There's stuff in there that actually does contain gluten, a very small amount. But if you have celiac disease or something very, very strong gluten intolerance, it affects you. So is that false advertisement, and should they be allowed to do that? Natural means, like I said, it means absolutely nothing. The FDA hasn't labeled that, I've already mentioned. The zero sugar is sugar alcohols, aspartame, things like that. The big one that I see is when it says made with whole grain. I used to think that was the thing. Oh, but it's whole grain, whole wheat, whole this, whole that. I've learned that it can be in microscopic amounts. And it's right there with like corn syrup and white flour. They're able to use very tiny amounts and just label it what it's not. So I don't believe that we're necessarily shopping. It's just a bunch of advertisements that you're walking through. And you just kind of take the best advertisement, the one that gets you. And a lot of times it's not just the ingredients or these labels, it's the way they, I remember a long time ago I did an episode about wine. Not into a whole episode, but I did a part about a wine bottle, and I even plugged it saying, this got me, just because of the label. It was cool. So there is a lot to that. It's not just as simple as, this says this, throw it in the cart. And people just need to be aware of it. We fall for it, cart after cart, because we trust packaging more than common sense. The processed food, in my opinion, the most important to me because of lifestyle. We're on the go. We're doing things. It's hard. It's easy to pop that, enchilada dinner or that frozen burrito in the microwave on the go. Some people don't like those things, but it's fill in the blank for what you do like with processed foods. And that can be healthy cereal. That can be all kinds of stuff dressed up, playing a role as good for you, when in reality, the process is not. And the statistic I have is 60% of the average American diet is processed. That's a lot. And that includes, like I said, the health cereals, those protein bars, the frozen dinners. My favorite are these lean cuisine. Here, eat this much food, and it's only, 200 calories. Well, no shit, it's like 2 spoonfuls. What people are forgetting is that even though it says lean cuisine or smart choice or Atkins, it's still very heavily processed. And that's just as bad. So they're not just unhealthy, they're designed to hijack your brain. What are the results? Well, I'm glad you asked. The obvious ones are obesity, type 2 diabetes, which is scary. But the common ones down the road are heart disease. How about depression? A lot of people eat to try and thwart depression. And in reality, what they're doing is they're probably making it worse because of the processed foods. So we're not feeding ourselves, we're sedating ourselves. So the hidden ingredients, the chemical additives, that's something to look at too. Here's some fine print if you're not reading the labels. Something like TBHQ. That's a petroleum-based preservative, like motor oil, but in your crackers. Sodium nitrate. This one's scary to me. Found in lunch meat. It's also been linked. There's a correlation between that and cancer. I know there are a lot of studies that it's linked to cancer, or it's linked to this, or linked to that. Man, I don't want to take a chance when it comes to cancer. I'll tell you what, over my lifetime, that lunch meat comes in handy. Throw it in a wrap, throw it in a tortilla, throw it in on some bread. Sandwiches are easy. As a kid, bologna and cheese. I make my children now. They eat, sandwich meat. Something to consider. And maybe there's a way to get deli meat from the counter where it's not so processed. But stay away from that packaged that packaged meat, because that's what I'm reading here. About red 40 and yellow 5. These are dyes, artificial dyes, and they're banned in other countries. But here, generously sprinkled in your kids' fruit snacks. Again, easy snack for kids. They love it, and I give my kids fruit snacks. I try for the all-natural ones, but as I'm learning, those may not be good either. So if you can't pronounce it, it's probably not meant to be in food. So think about that. So, okay, let's talk about farming. Factory farming. Food ethics, if you will. 99% of meat comes from factory farms. I'm not talking about farms where the cows are in the fields like you see driving on the highway down here in Texas. I'm talking about warehouses of hormone-jacked livestock, pumped full of antibiotics, and living on top of their own waste. First off, the issue is these poor animals. I'm not okay with that, even though I plan to have a nice big rare piece of you. I do not want you to suffer. Poor animals. I just don't. And to have these animals all on top of each other, living in their own shit, and treated horribly is not okay. And it makes the product worse. So you can talk about ethical treatment of animals later. Go back and listen to our show with the president of PETA, Ingrid Newkirk, if you want to talk about ethics when it comes to treatment of animals. But today, I'm just talking about the quality of the meat that comes from the animals, and that's a big reason why. Chickens, cage-free, doesn't mean they're roaming around having a great life before they're fed to us by KFC. It could literally mean 10,000 chickens, one on top of the other, in a barn without ever seeing the sun or with ever being outside in the fresh air. And we wonder why we're sick, why superbugs are rising. You want cheap bacon? Well, this is the cost. Okay, what can we actually do? Let's not pretend that it's doom and gloom. There are lots of things here. Read past the front label. Look at ingredients. I get it. Nobody wants to spend an hour and a half at the fucking grocery store looking at every label that you pick up, shopping every single item you have to get. It would take forever. I get it. Start somewhere. Just, you scroll. How much time do you spend flipping through reels? I don't know, take a little bit of time and just start with a few things. Look at the cereals and the bars and things like that you're getting, the all natural stuff. Do those things first, and then maybe you'll learn as you go. Instead of, I'm not telling you to go to the store right now and every single item, let's look at it, but look at, maybe 1 or 2 items each time you go and start learning. Don't stop scrolling our reels and shorts. Finish that first and then shoot over to the grocery store. If you want a cheat sheet, what I've learned is that if you Google ingredients banned in Europe, but still in the US, that's a start. I mean, this is very common, and it'll make you go in and throw out half the food in your pantry when you realize that most of the world doesn't allow these. That's a problem. They're not just stingy Europeans, which I like to call them at times. Buy one ingredient foods. So chicken, not a product of chicken. Obviously, you want to try to get free range and not cageless or whatever they say, whatever it is. Because as we just learned, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're free and open. And then support local farmers. A lot of these local farmers have high ethics and high moral standards when it comes to this. And that's where we want to get our food from. Not only do you support them, but you're getting better food. Don't wait for the perfection of food. Just don't fall for the scam. Just start down the path. Let's talk lastly about my man, Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK. This is a man who stuck with his principles and went from a Democrat, like his entire family, to realize that he didn't want to align with the Democrats. Don't blame him. He went then independent, which is more where I hang out or have hung out my entire life. And finally, after realizing that wasn't going to get him anywhere, jumped over aboard with the Trump administration. And he is, of course, put in charge of Food and Drug. And for some reason, this man is still being chastised. He's not qualified, not this, not that. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to show you anything. Go look at the previous person in charge of this, and let's talk about health. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is is doing a fantastic job. He is motivated to make this country healthy again. The left doesn't like when we say make America whatever again, but make America healthy again. Maha, or however you want to say it, is a thing. And I'm all about it. So they're trying to silence him. And I feel like a lot of the opposition to the Trump administration are big time, however you want to say it, executive type corporations. And if he wants to fix it, then that's not good, because they're in bed with big pharma and big ag, which is farming. If they're in bed with him, obviously they don't support what he's doing. So he's calling out the FDA for being in bed with those people, and he's demanding transparency in food labeling. He's calling for bans for chemicals that are already outlawed in Europe. And he's exposing how the agencies are captured by the industries they're supposed to regulate. How are these bad things? I challenge anybody to tell me. Quit letting your blind hate for the entire administration cloud your judgment. Why would you not want this country to be healthy? You don't have to be, but don't sit here and talk about a man who's done nothing but try and make it better. He's not asking for a fucking kale smoothies every day. And he's not asking for you to alter your life 100%. All he's saying is let's not poison ourselves. That seems pretty realistic to me as far as a want in our society. So here's the question when it comes to RFK. Are you going to keep mocking him on Twitter, X, because your feed told you to? Or are you going to sit here and say, hey, let's get on board? If there's one thing in this administration, for those of you that do not like it, let it be this. Why don't we come together on this and say, you know what? Fuck everything else. But you know what? Yeah, let's all come together because we are all Americans here. And if those are the people that want to say that we're being laughed at, this is why we're being laughed at, is because we're fucking fat and out of shape. So let's change that. I see no reason not to. In fact, Pepsi company. We all know what Pepsi is. I'm not a fan as much as some other sodas, if you will. But kudos to them. They've come out and they've committed. They've pledged that coming up here, I believe at the end of this year, I forgive me, do your own research, that they are going to eliminate all artificial ingredients in their foods. They want to align with this broader initiative that was put forth by RFK Jr. and, of course, the FDA commissioner for goals that they have. And Pepsi was one of the first major corporations to say, all right, we're on board. And man, what a great deal. If they can make their products without this artificial bullshit and it still tastes good and it still, people get used to it, man, this is a good thing. Tell you what, I went on, quick story before I end, I went on my honeymoon over to Italy and Croatia and Montenegro, and I've lived in Scotland and I've been all over Europe, and they're not as heavy as we are. They're just not. They eat, the French eat cheese and bread, and they drink wine all day long. And that's not a stereotype. That's what I saw. In Italy, they obviously eat pizza and pasta. That's not it's a stereotype, but it's also reality. The difference is the quality of their food, the quality of the wheat, of the flour, of what they're using to make these things. And man, it was delicious. So I'm all for this. I think, obviously when I was younger, I'm like, whatever, who cares? I'm invincible. As you get older and you start going, hey, we've got the technology to live longer and to be happier. Why not start with something like food that's so easy? It just needs to be regulated, and the people at the top who are benefiting from this poison financially need to be called out, and we need to make those changes. So we've been lied to, obviously. We're living in a system that labels chemical trash as wholesome, and it punishes the people who speak up, until now, hopefully. Americans love to call themselves freedom-loving, but they're chugging toxic sludge labeled immune boosters. I don't think this is much freedom. If you're offended by this because either you're a fatty and you don't like that I'm calling out Americans for being fat, good. Maybe I hit something hard, and maybe it will inspire you to at least be a little better for yourself and for those who love you. It's not about being perfect. It's about waking up a little bit and starting somewhere and getting ourselves, being proud of food over here, being proud of it. Right now, everyone goes, yeah, I can't lie, it's pretty bad. Well, why are we just accepting that? Let's get it done. I'm all about it. So thanks for staying gray. This is kind of a gray area. It can be. I think instead of going from point A to point Z, like without any work, that can't happen. So I just challenge you to go to point B and then to C and D and keep kind of cruising along at your pace, what's good for you, and just let's educate ourselves. That's all. We can't all just go to Italy to get pizza every night, as much as I would like to. There's one in particular. So good. If this episode made you want to go look in your fridge just to kind of see because you're curious, share it with somebody else. Give me a like and subscribe and follow. Write a review. Tell people. All I'm trying to do is help. So if you think someone wants to hear this, pass it on. Until then, stay sharp, stay questioning, stay laughing, stay great. Love you guys.
Man, I feel this word. Shadows scream, screams, love hurt.